In this video, we will walk you through the complete lab test configuration workflow. You will learn how to move step by step from creating a service to setting up a lab test, configuring its components, and finally organizing multiple tests into a panel for streamlined use. The process begins with adding a new service, where the appropriate pricing is defined. Once the service has been created, and it is intended to function as a lab test, it must then be configured accordingly as a laboratory test. This configuration ensures that it appears correctly within the system as a lab test. Next, you will configure the test components and add possible result values where applicable. This step ensures accurate, structured, and standardized reporting of laboratory results. If your objective is to group multiple tests together, the final step is to create a test panel. A test panel allows related tests to be bundled and managed efficiently as a single unit, improving workflow organization and usability. Let's dive in. Creating a service is crucial because it makes the service available and ready to be performed whenever it is needed for patient care. To create a service, follow the following steps. Navigate to the configuration module and from the menu list, select Service. You will be redirected to the next window as shown. Before creating a new service, it is important to note that the system normally comes with already pre-configured services. In most cases, these services are deactivated so that whatever is active is what you submitted before going live. This helps to keep your service list organized and ensures that only relevant tests are available for selection based on your operation. Before proceeding to create a new service, it is therefore important to first search whether the service already exists in the system. To do this, navigate to the View section at the bottom left corner of the panel and ensure that you are filtering all services and click on View button so you can search through both active and deactivated services. Then go to the search bar and type the name of the service to narrow down the results. If the service exists and is deactivated, right-click on the service and select Activate from the menu list, then confirm by selecting OK on the prompt that appears. This action will make the service available for use within the system. If you intend to edit the service, whether the service name or any other field such as the rate, first locate and select the service you want to edit, then click on the specific field you want to modify. For example, if you want to change the price, click on the rate field and enter the new amount, then click on Update to save the changes. This action ensures that the newly set price is going to apply for cash payers on billing when a service is requested. To deactivate a service, first locate the lab test you wish to deactivate. You may use the search bar to quickly narrow down to the intended service. Then right-click on the service and select Deactivate, confirming the action when prompted. Once a service is deactivated, it will no longer appear in the active services list, meaning clinicians will not be able to order it during consultations, and it cannot be billed or processed in the laboratory workflow. However, the service is not removed, it remains stored in the system for record keeping, historical reporting, and audit purposes. Deactivation simply prevents the test from being selected or performed going forward while preserving existing data, and can be made available for use when activated. To add a new service, start by entering the name of the service. This is simply what the test or procedure will be called in the system so that staff can easily identify and select it when needed. Next, select the income subaccount and expense subaccount. These fields are part of the accounting setup. The income subaccount records the money the facility earns when this service is provided, while the expense subaccount records the related costs. These fields are important because they ensure that all financial transactions linked to the service are recorded correctly and reflected accurately in financial reports. Then select the item category from the drop-down list. This defines the type of service and determines how the system will process it. This step is very important because the item category controls the service workflow and ensures it is mapped to the appropriate department by default. As a result, the system can accurately track revenue, activity, and performance by department using the Revenue by Department report under Revenue Reports. If the item category you need does not exist, you can create a new one. To do this, navigate to the side menu bar and select Item Category from the menu list. In the window that opens, enter the name of the new item category. Then link it to the appropriate department by selecting the correct option from the department drop-down list. Once linked, all items assigned to that item category will automatically be mapped to the selected department. When these services are performed, their revenue will be recorded under that department. This setup is essential for accurate financial analysis. It allows you to compare revenue generated by different departments such as theater services, radiology examinations, laboratory tests, or special clinics. With proper configuration, you can clearly see which departments are contributing the most revenue and use this information to support informed decision-making. Finally, click the Add button to save your configuration. Please note that if the correct item category is not selected, the service may be linked to the wrong department, which can lead to inaccurate reporting and operational inconsistencies. After that, choose the item class and VAT type where applicable. These fields ensure the service is properly classified and that the correct tax rules are applied during billing and financial reporting. In the rate field, enter the price of the service. This is the amount that will be charged when the service is provided. If the service is a procedure, tick is a procedure. If it is a radiology service, tick is an examination. If it is a theater-related service, tick is theater operation. These selections help the system determine how the service should function within the workflow. Finally, click the plus button to save the service. By the end of this learning path, you should be able to navigate to the service configuration window. Search for existing services in the system. Activate or deactivate a service. Edit service details such as name, rate, or linked accounts. Add a new service with proper configuration of item category, item class, and VAT type. Link a new item category to the correct department. Save and confirm the new or updated service configuration. The initial step in configuring a lab test is to first create it as a service. To create and set up a service as a lab test, follow the steps below. Navigate to the configuration module and select Lab Test panel as shown. In the newly opened window, enter the name of the lab test in the name field as shown. Please ensure that the name of the lab test matches the name of the service to be linked, which should have been created earlier. This helps prevent confusion when linking the lab test to the corresponding service. Next, enter a description to provide additional information about the test. Select the appropriate item category from the drop-down list. Click on the specimen drop-down and select the required specimen. If the specimen does not exist, you can create it by navigating to the side menu bar and clicking on Test Specimen. In the new window that appears, enter the name of the specimen and add a description to provide more context. Then click the Add button to save. The specimen will now be available for selection during lab test configuration. You may then close the window. In the service field, link the lab test to the service that was initially created. As a reminder, ensure that the lab test being configured has the same name as the service to avoid confusion among lab technicians. If the service is missing, click the Add Plus button. In the window that appears, you can quickly create the service you intend to link to the lab test. This panel provides you with the flexibility to create a service from lab test panel without having to return to the main service configuration panel. Once done, close the window. Then click on the plus button to save the lab test. By the end of this learning path, you should be able to create a service as a lab test. Enter the lab test name and description correctly. Select the appropriate item category for the lab test. Configure and select the required specimen for the test. Create a new specimen if it does not exist. Link the lab test to the corresponding service. Add a missing service directly from the lab test configuration panel. Save and confirm the lab test configuration. Configuring lab test components is critical, as it ensures complete control over how results are recorded, validated, and reported. Proper setup guarantees accuracy, supports clinical decision-making, and maintains the integrity of laboratory reporting. To configure lab test components, select the already configured laboratory test. Then, navigate to the side menu bar and click Test Components, which will take you to the Test Components window. Here, enter the component name in the provided field, and if applicable, record the lower limit and upper limit. The lower limit defines the minimum normal value for the component and helps flag results that fall below the healthy range, while the upper limit defines the maximum normal value and identifies results that exceed the normal range. Next, enter the units for the component, then click the Add button to save. If a component does not have defined limits, simply record the name and click on plus button to save. You can continue adding more test components using the same approach until you exhaust your list. To define possible results for a component, right-click on it in the list and select Possible Results from the menu. In the new window, enter the possible result values and, if needed, record an interpretation for each result. Click the Add button to save, and repeat this for all test components. Defining possible results is important because it ensures that each component can be interpreted correctly to support clinical decision-making and maintains accurate laboratory reporting. By the end of this learning path, you should be able to search for and select a laboratory test to configure. Navigate to the Test Components window. Add a new test component with the correct name, units, and limits. Define lower and upper limits for components where applicable. Save components without defined limits. Add multiple components to a laboratory test. Define possible results for each component. Enter interpretations for possible results. Save and confirm all component configurations. Configuring tests as panels allows related tests to be grouped and processed together, ensuring consistency, efficient workflow, accurate billing, and clear reporting for clinicians. Proper setup of components and panels maintains the integrity of laboratory reporting and enhances operational control. To configure lab tests as a panel, follow the steps below. Navigate to the Configuration module and select Lab Test Panel. You will be redirected to the next window as shown. For instance, let's use the ANC profile in this case. We are going to create an ANC profile as a lab test. Under the name field, enter ANC profile as shown and record the description to provide more context about the test package. Under the category, choose the appropriate laboratory category from the drop-down. The category here refers to the laboratory discipline or section to which the test belongs, such as immunology, hematology, serology, microbiology, or parasitology, among others. This categorization helps organize laboratory tests based on scientific discipline, supports proper laboratory workflow routing, and improves result reporting and analysis. In the specimen field, select the appropriate specimen type from the drop-down list. In the service drop-down, use the search bar to check whether a service named ANC profile already exists so it can be linked to the lab test being configured. In this case, it is missing. Click on the plus button to create a new service. In the next window, quickly create a new service called ANC profile so it can be linked to the lab test being created. Remember, the service and the lab test should have the same name to avoid confusion and ensure consistency between clinical configuration and billing. On this panel, enter the name of the service as ANC profile. Then proceed to select an income sub-account and an expense sub-account. The income sub-account determines where revenue generated from this lab test will be recorded in the chart of accounts, ensuring accurate financial reporting. The expense sub-account defines where related operational costs, such as reagents and consumables, will be tracked. Proper selection of these accounts supports transparent financial management and profitability analysis. In the item category, select the appropriate category from the drop-down, and then select the item class as shown. The item class further defines how the item behaves within the system, for example, whether it is a service item or another classification, helping control posting rules, reporting structure, and operational workflows. Select the appropriate VAT type in the VAT type field as shown. Enter the price for the ANC lab test package. Please note that the price recorded here represents the total charge for all tests that will be configured as a panel under the ANC profile. Then click on the plus button to save the service. To proceed, ensure the configured test is linked to the lab test being set up. Then, click the plus button to save. To configure the saved test as a panel, select the test and navigate to the sidebar menu and select Configure as a panel. In the next window, click on the test drop-down and use the search bar to narrow down the individual tests that need to be configured under ANC profile. Select each required test and click on the plus button to add them to the panel. This process ensures that all selected tests are bundled and processed as one structured package. The benefit of configuring tests as a panel is that it streamlines ordering, prevents omission of required tests, ensures uniform pricing, improves turnaround time, and enhances reporting accuracy. It also simplifies billing by charging a single consolidated package price while internally tracking each component test. Overall, a panel configuration improves operational efficiency, financial control, and clinical reliability. And if you accidentally added a test to a panel and want to remove it, click the delete button at the end of the test. By the end of this learning path, you should be able to create a lab test as a panel. Enter the panel name and description correctly. Select the appropriate category and item class. Select the correct specimen type for the panel. Link the lab test to a corresponding service. Create a new service if it does not exist. Link correct income and expense subaccounts to a service for accurate financial tracking. Set the VAT type and price for the panel. Save the lab test panel configuration. Add individual tests to the panel using the test drop-down. Save and confirm all tests included in the panel. Understand the operational, clinical, and billing benefits of panel configuration.